Baking crusty white bread is a delightful journey onto artisan baking, combining simplicity with the magic of transformation. It starts with a few essential ingredients: flour, water, yeast, and salt, which, when mixed together, might seem like a lot of work. However, with time and patience, these humble beginnings slowly metamorphose into a bubbly, alive dough. The beauty of no-knead bread lies in the ease. There is no need for intensive labor or expert techniques. When baking, measuring precisely using just measuring cups and spoons cannot be easy. To ensure accuracy, I use a measuring scale for this baking exercise. We will be using 900 grams, approximately 7.5 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, then 14 grams or 1.5 tablespoons of yeast, then 1 tablespoon of sodium-free salt alternative, and 680 grams or 3 cups of lukewarm water in our recipe. To begin, we need to activate the yeast by mixing it with the lukewarm water and letting it sit for 10 minutes. Yeast is a living organism, thus, it should be handled with care and gentleness. Water too hot will kill the yeast, so just make sure it's just lukewarm. You will notice bubbles forming and the mixture becoming foamy, which is fascinating to watch. Mix and stir all the ingredients together to make a sticky and rough dough. If you don't have a mixer, use a large spoon or dough whisk to stir the mixture until everything is combined. Cover the bowl and let the dough rise at room temperature for 2 hours. It's the slow fermentation that works its charm, developing flavors and textures that are complex and deeply satisfying. As the dough sits and rises, it's as if you can witness the very act of creation, the alchemy of baking right before your eyes. After 2 hours, the dough will have risen. To release excess air, gently punch the dough. Then refrigerate it for another 2 hours, and it will expand like this again. Considering the amount of flour in this recipe, a giant bowl is more suitable as the dough will rise significantly. To improve the texture of your dough, you can perform a technique called stretch and fold. This involves gently stretching the dough out and then folding it back onto itself. Repeat this process for a couple of minutes. We'll split the dough in the bowl into two equal parts. We'll use one half of the dough right now and keep the other half covered in the fridge. The longer you keep the dough in the fridge, the tangier it becomes. If you let it chill for 7 days, it will taste like sourdough. Allow the loaf to warm to room temperature and rise for about 60 minutes. While the loaf is resting, preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Place a shallow metal or cast iron pan on the lowest oven rack and have 1 cup of hot water ready. Place the loaf on a piece of parchment or parchment-lined baking sheet. Dust a light coating of flour over the top. This will help keep the bread moist as it rests before baking. Before baking, use a sharp knife to make 2 cuts about ½ inch deep in the bread. The bread may deflate, but that's okay. It will rise in the oven. Place the bread on a middle rack in the oven and pour 1 cup of hot water in the pan beneath the rack. Quickly close the oven door as it will bubble and steam. Bake the bread for 25 to 35 minutes or until it turns a deep golden brown color. The aroma of the baking bread begins to fill the air, a scent that is both comforting and exhilarating. The transformation is complete when the bread emerges golden and crackling, the crust singing as it cools. Allow it to cool down on a rack. After 3 days, we finally finished eating the first loaf of bread. Now I'm all set to bake the second half, which has been resting in the fridge. This second half is expected to be even tastier than the first one, as we left it for more fermentation. Bake it the same way as the first one. Cutting into the loaf reveals a soft, airy interior with holes that tells the story of fermentation and a chewy and tender texture. The first bite is a revelation. The crust crackles and the soft interior melts in your mouth, a testament to the simple yet profound joy of baking. This experience from mixing to tasting reminds us of the wonders that can come from the most essential elements and celebrates the art of making something extraordinary from the ordinary. It teaches patience, rewards intuition, and most importantly, brings joy to both the baker and those who share in the fruits of their labor.